welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, J Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at a 5-game slate here on DraftKings and FanDuel, and at least we have a couple of pitchers, but overall it's pretty limited. We also have the Coors game, which does play into effect here because I think people are going to definitely want some Colorado exposure tonight.
Oh, they are. But at the same time, you kind of like that high floor some of these pitchers give you, especially on a 5-gamer. If you do play cash, for tournaments though, a lot of different ways to go for a 5-gamer.
Yeah, definitely. First game here, you get the Cubs and Pirates. John Lester versus Chad Kuhl, and Cubs are steady favorites here, minus 158, according to Vegas. You look at the Pirates projected for under 4 runs. Lester, relatively average outing last time out against the Pirates, but overall, he's been pretty solid this year. And 21 strikeouts over the 3 starts that he's pitched against Pittsburgh's pretty understandable given they have a 24% strikeout rate against lefties. Overall, I don't mind him. He's a slight pay down from Scherzer, and should pick up a win here and should throw a quality start.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit as sort of a guy that you can pay down off of Scherzer, get some higher end bats in there, and maybe fire out one of these value pitchers with him on DK. But at the same time, I think he's a nice one-off on FanDuel as well. So it's kind of clear if you're going to pay down off Scherzer, I think you jump down to Lester.
Yeah, I think so. That 3K difference pretty much on DraftKings is a pretty significant drop down. And even on FanDuel, Scherzer's 11.9, Lester's 10.2. If you do want some safety, I do think Lester's your guy. The Pirates have been kind of chipping away at some pitching of late. They're starting to kind of turn things around. But overall, a middle-of-the-road offense against lefties and that high strikeout rate, something that Lester has shown. He's been able to dial up at least, 6 to 7 strikeouts against them this year.
For sure.
So on the other side, not really looking at Chad Kuhl. Really hard to attack this Cubs offense with anyone. So for me, definitely staying away.
I think a good golden rule is usually if the Vegas total is over 4.5 runs projected, you probably want to stay away from that pitcher. Just in general. This is more matchup based because it's the Cubs, but yeah, I think you're just staying away from that matchup tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. Even in a good ballpark, highly unlikely that he's going to get a win. And even though he is priced down cheaply, it's kind of tough to use him anyway.
Right.
Nationals and Mets. Next one here, you got Max Scherzer versus Logan Verrey. Scherzer, coming in here, coming off a solid start, and Scherzer had an excellent June. 1.96 ERA, pretty solid start to July. Obviously, he's kind of your top high floor, high ceiling guy tonight. An easy number one, 33% strikeout rate this year. And the Mets pitching or the Mets hitters have been better of late. Cespedes left the game last night. That could be something. He could be out of the lineup. You take Cespedes out of this lineup, it looks bad. It looks bad already, but even worse.
The Jose Reyes, Curtis Granderson, James Loney 1, 2, 3 isn't something that intimidates me. That's for sure. In terms of Scherzer, yeah, I could see this being a really high upside night for him in terms of strikeouts. So I think 10 plus strikeouts is actually pretty reasonable to expect for him, and maybe he could even get into one of those rare 12 to 14K nights. So I think that upside's there. I think you have to be pretty reasonable with your exposure to him because you don't want to completely fade him, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. You look 2 starts against the Mets and 10 strikeouts is just what you're going to get. He's done it twice against them already this season.
Yeah.
And home runs have been an issue for him this season. 21 allowed this year. Very high for Scherzer. I'm not completely concerned here with this lineup. I do think Scherzer has struggled a little bit in the home run department on the road. But if you take Cespedes out of the lineup, you're not really looking at too many of those bats to kind of really go deep off of Scherzer there.
And again, we've seen with these high strikeout upside guys, giving up a homer or two isn't gonna shift you away from a good start. If they get those 9-10 strikeouts, it doesn't really matter if they give up 1 or 2 runs. So yeah, I'm firing away 100% pretty much.
Yep, definitely agree. Logan Verrey on the other side, Nationals projected for over 4 runs. I could see Verrey throwing a quality start. If I'm diving down, I mean, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk, which we'll get to a guy later on. So for me, Logan Verrey, I mean, I don't know. I could see him relatively going 5 innings, maybe 3 earned runs, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It is going to put some stress on your hitters to actually really pay off using Verrey. So for me, I can't see myself really using him there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of that he could do well, probably not going to get the win, but at the same time, I mean, he's only 4K on DK, so yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get cores, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. Padres and Dodgers. Next one here, you got Brandon McCarthy versus Luis Perdomo. And McCarthy, I mean, came back and looked really good in that start. I mean, this is a guy who hasn't pitched in over a year. And if you're on Twitter and you don't follow this guy, Brandon McCarthy is seriously one of the
Mm.
best around. I mean, absolutely hilarious. It's going to be a bummer that he's not going to be tweeting as much as he used to.
Wait, you were talking about at Russell J. Clay, right?
No, talking about Brandon McCarthy, he's
Oh,
Russell
oh.
J. Clay, he's okay. He's an okay tweeter. I mean, it's mainly just football reference images that he just tosses up about once every 5 minutes. That's about what I see from him.
That's highly accurate.
Is it? Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment of players that just aren't either retired or are on IR or something. Yeah, that's usually what I concentrate on. Yeah, but Brandon McCarthy obviously um, hasn't pitched in a while, but that last start's pretty promising. I think on this type of slate, it's one where you actually feel pretty confident with him compared to all the options other than Lester and Scherzer. So yeah, I mean, as a tournament guy, I don't think we can quite trust him yet, but good matchup, good Vegas totals, everything's lining up. So I'm in on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Padres. I mean, 29th in WOBA against righties. Yes, they have been better of late. They're better against lefties.
Jeez, them and the Braves, man. It's like unreal. Like
I mean,
they're actually kind of competent, which they just weren't before. Like they were dead. They were deceased.
yeah, I
Not
mean, you've kind of had to been a little bit more pickier. I mean, obviously, last night against Sale with the Braves was, you're going to take that matchup 10 times out of 10.
yes, yes.
But yeah, I mean, taking kind of those teams, like we've looked at a couple lefties against them, prior in the last couple of weeks, and it's been like, okay, they haven't done as well as we expected. So
Yeah.
it's time you can't just roll out any freaking 250-pound pitcher against them and expect them to do well these days.
I mean, the Braves were 20 are I believe they still currently are around 20 games under 500. So, and I mean they've kind of boosted that up of late. So something was really bad early in the year, and I don't know. It's just weird to see them put up 5 runs, never mind 11.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I mean, look at the Padres. I mean, Vegas projects them for around 3 runs tonight. And I like
Yeah.
McCarthy. I mean, I think in all formats, I like him quite a bit. I do think, 6 innings is about the tops for him, just given the pitch count. But I do see him kind of getting through this San Diego lineup and getting a win. And Vegas, projecting a pretty decent win. And on FanDuel 7,900, I mean, he's the guy who's going to get you all the cores bats that you need if you want to, go that route in GPPs. And, given he's a minus 214 favorite, 7,900 on FanDuel, I like him a bit. And even as 9,600, I think SP2 wise, he's not a bad option.
So let's talk a little strategy since this is only 5 games. For DK, for cash, could you look at a Lester McCarthy duo and then maybe pay up a lot, maybe pay up for some Coors bats or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are going that route, I mean, McCarthy is coming into the slate was a little more expensive than I wanted him to be. I was hoping he'd be in the 8K range.
Yeah.
But I do think that is a fine pairing. It is about 20 grand of your salary, so you are going to have to reasonably punt the weaker spots like catcher, second base, or shortstop. If you want to get an Arenado, if you want to get a Cargo, so you are still going to have to punt in other areas. But I mean, it doesn't leave you completely binding if you use the Scherzer, McCarthy, lineup as well, or a Scherzer Lester.
Right.
So I do think it's an option, and I do think on 5 game slates, you are obviously with a core slate involved. I think you are leaning more towards GPPs than cash games.
Agreed.
So, but McCarthy, I think he's a solid play. Perdomo on the other side. I like this Dodgers offense for value quite a bit. Some of those back game guys, Perdomo's been relatively weak all year in the starts that he's made, so not a guy you can really trust.
No, definitely not. Definitely looking at some value in that Dodgers lineup. Obviously Justin Turner, 4,100 again, so might fire away with him.
Yeah, definitely. Next game here, you do have the Coors game, and for me, I mean, I'm going to make an interesting case for Tyler Anderson.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, let's take. I mean, we talked yesterday on both the DK and FD pods that Coors was not a priority, and it wasn't. I mean, it didn't need to be just with those two arms, and not that this is the duo that is going to do that again. But I mean, let's take a look.
Yeah.
The Phillies haven't really scored. They haven't attacked these Colorado starters. Obviously, Gray is a top end starter. Bettis isn't that great. And you look at the Phillies, I mean, they are not good against lefties. I mean, you take a Double Herrera out from the left side. Maikel Franco hasn't really handled lefties well. You got guys like Tommy Joseph. Cameron Rupp's the only one that can maybe do something. So, I mean, overall, they're dead last in WOBA against Southpaws, 24% strikeout rate. Tyler Anderson hasn't really been that bad. He hasn't really shown a blow-up
No,
factor.
he hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't. He's only given up 5 runs and 3 starts at home. So that's really not bad. That's like actually really good for Coors. So yeah, I mean that's fair. Obviously there is still that downside because he's not an ace or anything, and you're starting him at Coors. But yeah, at the same time, I mean it kind of takes Odubel Herrera a little bit out of play there. And I guess you can fire away.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think, pairing him with a Scherzer, pairing him with a Lester is certainly fine here because, I mean, 5K pairing him up with Scherzer is going to leave you still with some cash. And, more so under if you were pairing McCarthy and Lester. So I think it's a reasonable GPP option. I mean, 4.9's cheap. I mean, you're kind of just looking for maybe 15 points DK wise out of him. And, on FanDuel, I think it's kind of easy to just use McCarthy because, one, if you're using Anderson, that takes away one Colorado player that you probably want to get into your lineup, so you'd only be able to get 3 instead of 4.
Right.
So that's my take there, but I kind of like Anderson as a GPP play, kind of like how I liked Gray yesterday.
Yeah, and I do think he does have if he can get through 5 or 6 innings, he does have a decent shot at a victory. Obviously, the Rockies projected total heading north to around 7 runs tonight. So yeah. And I think we're avoiding Jared Eichhoff here, huh?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's not the pitcher.
That's Blackman and Gonzalez are licking their chops there for sure.
Yeah, definitely agree. Twins and Rangers last game of the night. Ricky Nolasco versus Kyle Loesch, and
Loesch
making a reappearance.
back. He's back.
Yeah, there's no way you can use him.
He's like that annoying friend who like you don't see for a while, and then he comes back and you're like, "Oh, you're back!" And then like 20 minutes later, you're like, "Oh yeah." We really
now we're
like
glad we know why you left.
Yeah.
But this game, I mean, the Coors pivot for me is this game. I like this one really secondary to Coors as far as hitters go. So
Yeah.
no interest in Nolasco or Kyle Loesch here.
No. Yeah, especially with Nolasco's WOBA to both sides of the plate. It's just rough.
Yeah, and the Twins have been coming around in this ballpark pretty solid. So it's definitely a stay away situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally 11-run totals are stayaways, but this especially tonight on a 5-gamer.
Yeah, definitely. So that's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.